Hey everyone, I'm David Heinemeier Hansson. I work for 37 Signals. I'm also the creator of a web framework called Ruby on Rails, and I'm not going to talk about that at all today, so sorry about that. What I am going to talk about, though, a little bit is how lonely I feel up here. So I work for 37 Signals. We're not looking for VC funding. We're not hiring. We're profitable. And it feels kind of weird to be in a collection of young, smart people and feel a little bit alone in that sense. Like, most of the talks this morning and most of the questions were, how do I pitch my VC? How do I do this? How do I do the other thing? That doesn't really perhaps relate directly to, hey, how do I build a business that's actually viable, short of Google deciding to opening its purse and picking me up? I think there's too little talk among startups about just making money on their own. So this is going to be a talk on the secret of making money online. But actually, I thought I'd revise that a little bit, because at 37 Signals, we've kind of been accused a little bit of being arrogant. There's one way, our way or the highway. So to kind of preempt that, it's a secret to making money online. There's probably other secrets out there too. But I'm going to present the one that's kind of the one we've been thinking about. Like, this is the classic conundrum, the slashed-up question. You have a great application, and then something magical happens, and then you have profit. So we've been studying this conundrum for some time at 37 Signals. We've been talking to a lot of people. We've been doing our research. We've been doing experiments, testing things out, what would work and what wouldn't. And we found out that having a prize is really cool for getting profits. I mean, you have customers, they pay you money for the product or service, and you get profit. And I mean, it's such a weird notion. It's almost too simple to work. But I've heard that over time, hundreds of years actually, that has been how most businesses have made their money. But somehow, I think that notion got lost in the web world. And the funny thing is, we played this game before. We played it back in 2000. It was all about the eyeballs. It was all about the VCs and then getting bought out or going IPO or whatever. It didn't really work then. Now we're playing another round, because there's money ready again to be invested, money ready to buy out social media networking things. And I mean, it's great. I mean, I am truly happy for the people who win that lottery. I mean, just like I would congratulate anybody else winning that lottery. But I think there's just a simpler way. I think there's a simpler way of building sustainable businesses that are being neglected in the startup community, which is to have a price. And the cool thing about having a price is there's so many different ways to have it. It's not like there's only one approach to it. At 37 Signals, we have a really simple, dumb idea, which is just get people to sign up for a product. They pay us every month. If they continue to like the product, they continue to pay us money. And that works for us. We've been more than doubling our revenues for the past many years. We've been doing this, many, which is a funny thing in the startup world. For us, is like 4 or 5. But it still worked out to be a multi-million-dollar business. And we're pretty happy with that. There's a lot of other people doing similar things, just in different approaches to it. So they might not have a subscription service you pay every time or every month. You might do something like Campaign Monitor, which is an awesome service for sending out email newsletters, tracking them, who's clicking on what, who's reaching what. And they have this plan of just charging a cent per recipient. Again, a very, very simple idea. You're using a service, you like it, it's growing your business, and you pay to use it. They make money that way. And I hear they're actually a cool crew down in Australia, and they're going surfing next week. And I don't even think that they got any huge wave they have to catch. They're just happy making money. So you can also just do the traditional time-tested way of just selling your software. Fogbugs has kind of two ways of doing it. You can either get it on demand, which is a new thing for them, or you can just buy the piece of software. So Fogbugs sells you a package for a price, $1.99. You buy it, you install it on your server, and you're presumably happy, and Fogbugs gets money directly from that customer. You can also combine these things. I love this service. It's called Faxit Nice. Faxit Nice is a great way of routing around the fact that a huge percentage of the business in the US still works over faxes. And faxes are really annoying. But here you wrap it up into a nice web service. You can either send a single fax for $5. You can sign up for a retainer type scenario. You pay $20, this is what I do, and then you pay a little bit every time you send, or you can sign up for a subscription basis where you can send and receive faxes, and you pay on a monthly basis for that. Now, the really cool thing about all of this is you don't need to be a fucking genius to make any of this work. It's not rocket surgery. I mean, it's really just that simple three-step idea. You have a great application, you ask money for it, if people like it, they'll pay, and you profit. But here's the kicker. It's still hard. Just because you slap a price on something doesn't mean you'll have a successful business. Most businesses fail. And I think this is where the problem kind of creeps in. So if most businesses fail anyway, why shouldn't I go to try to be the next Facebook or MySpace or YouTube and get up for $1 billion, right? Like my good man 50 Cent, get $1 billion or try trying. Now, I don't think that logic is very good, actually. And the reason I don't think that logic is very good is because the odds are not created equal. The odds of you in here making the next Facebook or YouTube or MySpace, tiny. The odds of you actually just creating a product that a few people will like and pay you money for, not that shabby. Still hard, but not as hard as trying to be a $1 billion company. So, like, here's some odds. If you're building just a simple company, just trying to sustain a few people, what are the odds of that perhaps being a success? What, 1 to 5, 1 to 10? I don't know. But the odds of you building that next Facebook or MySpace is probably not 1 to 10. I mean, if it was, I would probably not be giving this speech. I'd be trying to build the next Facebook. The odds are a lot worse than that. But people get into this notion that it's really this easy. We hear these stories all the time. The Facebooks, the MySpaces, and the YouTubes are broadcasted again and again and again. It's kind of like reverse terror alerts. So the probability of something like this happening, like the probability of you being crashed on a plane, tiny. But the fear you have of it, or the desire you have to be that next Facebook, huge, because it's being broadcasted over and over again. You're being brainwashed. So, if you look at these odds, and you then look at the probability and the outcome you can get for it, you can kind of compare them. So let's take like a business where you have a 1 in 10 chance of making $1 million. There used to be once upon a time where $1 million was a lot of money. I still think $1 million is a lot of money, but all these VCs are talking about is $1 billion companies or $300 million companies. I think you can be pretty happy on just $1 million. Most people would be, and I think we lose sight of that because we get this image pumped up of the $1 billion company. Now, to a naive comparison, these should actually be equal. So a 1 in 10 chance of making $1 million should be roughly the same as a 1 in 10,000 chance of making $1 billion if you didn't care about the first jump. And I think that's what people misses. The difference between having, say, $1 million and $1 billion is a lot smaller than the difference between having negative $10,000 on your bank account and having $1 million. So I'd encourage a lot more people to take the better odds at the smaller reward, and then perhaps worry about the $1 billion next time. Now, how do you go about getting that $1 million? I'm even making that sound kind of easy. And in some ways, it's not as hard as you think. And I think it's because most people don't look at the simple facts for these things. So let's take the idea of a subscription service. A subscription service that has 2,000 customers at $40 a month over 12 months make $1 million a year. That's not bad. 2,000 customers out of the entire potential of customers out there, that's not a whole lot of customers. It's not really that hard. It's still hard, but it's really not the same thing as trying to build that next one-in-a-year theme, Facebook or MySpace or whatever. It's a lot simpler, and it's a lot more tried and true. Dig a little bit further into those numbers. What do I need to get those 2,000 customers? Well, if you look at some numbers like conversion rates, let's say you have a run-of-the-mill subscription service, and you somehow manage to make it good enough that 5% of the people who sign up for your service, they end up paying you money. You need to have 40,000 signups to keep 2,000 customers. That's 110 signups a day. That's still kind of hard to get, but it's really not that hard. And I think people are underestimating trying to aim for this. And these numbers even add up to $1 million. Well, most people would be happy making even a fifth of that. If you go and take it down one more level, to make $200,000 a year, you need just 400 customers at $40. The market niches you can attack if you're trying to get 400 customers or 2,000 or even 10,000, they can be tiny. You don't have to care about these big waves. You don't have to care about discovering the next great thing. You just have to solve a problem a little bit better than the other guys. Just like if you're opening a restaurant. You're opening a restaurant, you're doing Italian food. It doesn't have to be the best freaking Italian food in the world. It just has to be kind of convenient for the people around you, and you can make a pretty good business out of that. I think there's too few people trying to make just a nice Italian restaurant in the web space. Now, how do you go about finding these customers then? Because 2,000 people paying you money is still 2,000 people. That's a lot of people. Well, we tried a few different ways. And I think that's also, again, where it goes a little bit off track. So Backpack is an application we have at 37 Signals, and it started out being, well, we did Basecamp first. It was for businesses, for organizer projects. Let's do something for the consumer. So we did this application for the consumer, organizing their loose ends, blah, blah, blah. Really hard, because getting the consumer to pay you money for something, that's pretty hard. We even had plans starting at $5 a month. And consumers are really fleety thing. They'll pay just $5 a month, 1 month, and then they'll decide they won't need it anymore. They'll turn it off. And it's really hard, actually, to establish a business here. So I'd advise, if you're trying to follow this model of just selling services for money, going to the consumer, it shouldn't be the obvious choice. There's a lot easier way to go about this. We kind of realized this over a few years of running Backpack and other apps, and we relaunched Backpacks about 2 months ago, after it had been out for 2 years almost, and we aimed it towards the business instead. Well,